Sound, soft wind blowing, faint crackling fire in the background. Christmas Eve. The world outside is still, blanketed in a heavy coat of snow. It feels like the world has paused, like time itself is holding its breath. Inside, the warmth of the fire dances against the cold windows, and laughter fills the air. It's supposed to be the night of peace, of joy. But tonight, something feels different. Sound, faint creaking sound, followed by a soft thud from upstairs. I remember looking around that night, at my family. The same family that had celebrated Christmas in this house for generations. But as I watched the flickering lights, a strange unease settled in the pit of my stomach. Like a shadow passing over the joy. A feeling that tonight wasn't like the others. Sound, silence, interrupted only by the sound of a crackling fire. We ate, we laughed, we exchanged gifts. It was like any other Christmas. The tree, dressed in red and gold, stood proudly in the corner of the living room. The lights twinkled, and the scent of pine filled the air. But the more I tried to push the thought out of my head, the more I couldn't shake it. Something was off. Maybe it was the way the wind howled outside, or how the shadows in the corners seemed a little deeper that night. Sound, wind picks up outside. I glanced at the others. My wife, Sarah, was holding the kids close, laughing, unaware. But there was something in her eyes too, a flicker of something. Something I couldn't quite place. The house was old. It had always creaked and groaned. But that night, those creaks felt different. As though something was listening. Sound, soft footsteps upstairs, then silence. That night, after the kids had gone to bed and Sarah and I were finishing up in the kitchen, I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate. Not from outside, not from the wind, but from above. Our house was quiet at night. So quiet that every little sound felt amplified. Sound, soft, slow footsteps, door creaking open slightly. At first, I thought it was one of the kids, maybe needing a drink of water. But no one came down. I walked upstairs, but there was no one there. The house was empty, or so I thought. Sound, a faint whisper in the distance, barely audible. And then I heard it. A whisper. So soft, but clear as day. It said, "Sarah." I froze. I knew it wasn't the wind, it wasn't anyone else. It was a voice, but from where? From who? Sound, silence, punctuated by the wind outside. Sound, low, eerie hum in the background, slight gusts of wind. The next day, we tried to shake it off. Sarah said it was probably just the house settling. But I couldn't forget the whisper. And the footsteps. The days passed, but the unease never left. The house, once comforting, now felt hollow, like something was always lurking just behind the walls, watching us. Sound, creaking floorboards, followed by a faint knock on the door. It wasn't long before the other things started happening. Small things at first. Ornaments shifting on the tree. The lights flickering. A door that opened on its own, even though the windows were closed tight. I thought I was losing my mind. But then, it happened again. Sound, a door slamming shut with force. That night, the door slammed. No wind. No draft. Just a violent thud. And the room, it felt colder, colder than the storm outside. Sound, soft murmuring, pages turning. It was that night that Sarah and I decided to do something we should have done sooner. We searched the house's history. What had happened here before? What was I missing? What was haunting us? Sound, pen scribbling, the creak of an old book opening. We found it. The records. The house had been here for over 100 years. And the name. Sarah Whitfield. A woman who had lived here long ago, and died on Christmas Eve, under mysterious circumstances. Her death had been ruled a tragic accident, but no one really knew what had happened. Not until we dug deeper. Sound, low hum of an old record player, then silence. The pieces started to come together. The name. The time of year. The coldness that lingered in the house. I knew then, the whispers, the footsteps, they weren't just random noises. They were her. She was here. And she wasn't just visiting. Sound, soft scratching at the door, followed by a low, ghostly groan. That night, as we sat by the fire, trying to process everything, she appeared. I saw her. Standing at the edge of the hallway, her face pale, her eyes hollow. She was looking at me, silently. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. She was just there. Watching. Sound, a loud bang, the sound of the fireplace crackling wildly. The house shook. The fireplace roared, the wood snapping loudly, but it felt like everything had slowed down. The figure didn't move. She just stood there, like she was waiting for something. For me. For us. I don't know. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. But I could hear her voice, clear as the cold air. Sound, whispering voice in the background, saying Sarah. Her voice. It was soft, but it wasn't just a whisper. It was a plea. A plea for help. A plea for release. Sound, faint rain tapping against the windows. After that night, everything changed. The house was silent, but it wasn't the quiet I'd known. It was an absence, a hollow space where warmth and joy once were. Sarah and I didn't stay much longer after that. We left, but the memory of that night, it stayed with us. And now, years later, I wonder if she's still there. If the house is still haunted. Sound, wind howling outside, then soft silence. Some say she never left. Some say she still walks those halls, searching, waiting. I don't know if I believe in ghosts. But I do know what I saw, what we all felt. And I'll never forget it. Sound, eerie silence, light music playing in the background. But this is only part of the story. There's more to uncover. The history of that house is far darker than I could have imagined. And perhaps, the answers lie buried within its walls, waiting to be discovered. Sound, whispering grows louder, then fades out. The house itself was as old as the memories it held. Sarah, my wife, always said it had a personality of its own. Something comfortable, warm even when it creaked and groaned at night. But that night, it felt different. I was already on edge. But the others, they couldn't feel it. Not yet. Not the way I did. Sound, light, soft murmur of voices, distant laughter, the warmth of family. We were just a typical family, I suppose. Sarah, always the one to bring calm to every storm. Our little girl, Emily, not quite 8 but full of curiosity. And then, there was my father, Henry, who had come to visit us for the holidays. He was the oldest among us, a man who had lived through enough to see ghosts in the world, but always laughed it off. Laughed when the wind howled too loudly, or when the house groaned in the middle of the night. He had his doubts, but in this house, even he had to admit there was something strange. Sound, a door opening softly, the sound of boots on the floor. Laughter of children playing. I always thought of my father as the rock of our family, steady and strong. His hair was turning gray, but his shoulders still carried the weight of decades. Then there was Emily. My little girl. Her laugh was like a song, so pure, so innocent. She had a way of lighting up a room, until that night. Sound, clinking of plates, family gathering around the dinner table, laughter. The soft hum of a Christmas song in the background. We sat down for Christmas Eve dinner, just like we always had. Sarah, of course, had cooked the turkey, she did it every year. The mashed potatoes were creamy, the green beans crisp, and the wine flowed freely. We exchanged small gifts, smiled, and joked, but that feeling, that strange, unsettling presence lingered. Every now and then, I catch Emily looking towards the shadows, her eyes wide, her face pale. She wasn't saying anything, but something was wrong. I knew it. Sarah noticed too. She asked me if I was alright, and I just brushed it off, telling her I was just tired. Sound, cutlery clinking, faint rustling of wrapping paper as gifts are exchanged. I should have known. My father, though, didn't seem to notice. He was too busy telling one of his old stories, something about the war, something to make us laugh. But I couldn't focus. I kept looking around the room. At the way the light seemed to flicker every now and then. At the strange silence that filled the spaces between our words. There was no storm outside, yet the air inside felt thick, as though it was pressing down on me. Sound, soft creak of floorboards, faint gust of wind. It was just after dinner, when the kids were getting ready for bed, that I first noticed something. A sound, a bang, so loud that it made all of us jump. Sarah, Emily, my father, and I all froze. The room went silent. We looked at each other, unsure of what had happened. But Emily, she didn't look confused. She looked afraid. She was staring at the dark corner of the room, where the Christmas tree stood. Sound, the sound of Emily's breath, slightly shaky. Her voice was barely a whisper, but I heard it clear enough. "Daddy, someone is standing there." My heart sank. I turned toward the corner, where the shadows seemed to stretch unnaturally long. But there was nothing. Just the tree, casting strange shadows in the dim light. Sound, faint rustle of the tree's branches, an uneasy pause. "It's just the tree, sweetheart," I said, trying to calm her. But she shook her head. "No, Daddy, there's someone there." I could feel the weight of her words. I tried to smile, to reassure her. But inside, I was feeling the same cold she was. The house felt alive in a way it never had before. Later that night, after we had put Emily to bed, I sat in the living room, trying to relax. But it was impossible. The house didn't feel like it had before. It felt like the walls were pressing in on me. My father sat in his chair, reading, unaware of what had happened. But I couldn't stop thinking about Emily. And then, the house did something it had never done before. Sound, a loud crash, followed by silence. The door to the attic, the one that never opened, swung open by itself. I had never seen the door move in all the years we'd lived there. It was locked, and it should have stayed locked. But now, it was wide open. And inside, I could hear something, or rather, someone. A sound like something shifting in the dark. Sound, the low, unsettling sound of creaking wood from above. I froze, my heart pounding. My father, noticing my expression, looked up from his book. "What's wrong?" he asked. But before I could speak, Emily's voice, the one I had tried to ignore, came again, this time, louder. "Daddy, they're coming." Sound, a soft tapping on a typewriter, pages turning. That's when we knew something wasn't right. We couldn't keep pretending. Sarah and I spent the next few hours searching through old records, looking for anything that could explain the strange happenings. The house's history had been buried, lost to time. But we found something in the attic. A faded, old photograph, covered in dust. And a name, Sarah Whitfield. She had lived here before us, many years ago. Her death was a mystery, her body never found. But she had disappeared on Christmas. Just like tonight. Just like now. Sound, a deep, long breath from James. It was then that I realized, the house wasn't just haunted. It was waiting. Waiting for something to return. For someone to remember. Sound, soft crackling fire, wind whistling outside. The days that followed were unsettling. The house had changed, and so had we. What was once familiar now felt alien. The air in the hallways felt thicker, heavier. No matter how much we tried to dismiss the events, the small incidents kept happening. The lights flickered not just once, but multiple times each night. The cold was unbearable, as if the house itself was breathing, exhaling a chill into every room. Sound, light buzzing of a flickering light bulb. At first, I tried to explain it away. "It's just the weather," I told Sarah. "It's just the old wiring, that's all." But deep down, I knew. It wasn't the weather, and it wasn't the wiring. Something was watching us. The way the shadows twisted on the walls. The way the air seemed to still every time we walked past the staircase, like something was waiting in the darkness above. Sound, a creaking floorboard from upstairs, followed by silence. I could hear it at night. Footsteps. Coming from upstairs. Slow and deliberate. It wasn't the house settling, not this time. This was something else. But what was it? I had to know. I needed answers. I couldn't live like this, not knowing. Sound, pages turning, quiet rustling of paper. It was that evening when I decided to look deeper into the house's past. I couldn't ignore the feeling any longer. I pulled the old documents from the attic, the ones we had found after Emily's warning. They were faded, brittle. The paper was yellowed with age, but the ink was still legible enough to make sense of. And there it was. The name, Sarah Whitfield. Sound, a soft, melancholic hum as James reads the documents. I found an old letter, hidden in the back of a drawer. It was from the 1800s, addressed to the original owner of the house. It spoke of strange occurrences, cold spots in rooms, unexplainable noises at night. But it was the last line of the letter that sent a chill down my spine. Sound, the sound of paper unfolding. The letter said, "The house is not just a house, James. It is a keeper of memories. It holds what we cannot see, but what we can feel. And it is waiting." Sound, a pause, the wind howling outside. I couldn't believe it. The letter spoke of the house being alive, in some way. It wasn't just a home. It was a conduit. A place that held memories of Sarah Whitfield. A woman who had vanished on Christmas Eve, years ago, under mysterious circumstances. Sound, wind picking up, faint tapping noises in the background. That night, the atmosphere in the house grew even heavier. The temperature dropped so low I could see my breath inside the living room. Sarah and Emily were asleep upstairs, and my father had retired to his room early. I tried to stay awake, but the darkness seemed to press in from every corner of the room. Sound, sudden, loud banging from above, followed by silence. Then, the sound came again. A loud bang. But this time, it was not the wind or the house. This was a force of its own. I stood up, my heart racing, and walked toward the stairs. The closer I got, the colder the air became. It was like walking through a wall of ice. Sound, footsteps on stairs, slow and deliberate. I stepped onto the first stair. It creaked beneath my feet. And that's when I saw it, at the top of the stairs. A figure. Pale, transparent, almost ethereal. It was a woman. The same face I had seen in the photograph from the attic. Her eyes were hollow, like they had been drained of life, and her mouth was frozen in an expression of deep sorrow. She was standing there, waiting for me. Sound, a low whisper, almost inaudible, calling out, "Sarah." The name. My heart stopped. It wasn't me she was calling. It was Sarah. She was calling her. I didn't move. I couldn't. The figure stayed there, not moving an inch. The air felt thick, suffocating. And then, as quickly as it appeared, it was gone. Sound, a gentle wind, but now with an added eerie tone, as if something is stirring. The next morning, Sarah and I decided to confront the past. I could feel her fear, but she trusted me. Together, we went to the local library, determined to learn more about Sarah Whitfield. It was then that we found it, the article from the local newspaper, written years ago, about the disappearance of Sarah Whitfield. Sound, a soft turning of a page, the gentle tapping of a computer keyboard. The article told a different story than we expected. Sarah Whitfield had been a young woman, recently married. She had lived in this house with her husband. But that Christmas Eve, she had vanished without a trace. No one ever found her body. Her husband, devastated, was left alone, tormented by guilt. The whispers started, the cold spots began, and the house became something else. Sound, a quiet, distant wind howl as James continues. What the article didn't say was how Sarah Whitfield's husband, after years of torment, had disappeared as well. No one knew where he went. Some say he left, broken by the guilt. But others say he stayed. He's still in the house. Watching. Waiting. That night, Emily came to us. She wasn't herself. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with fear. She sat at the foot of our bed, and she spoke. Sound, faint voice of Emily, trembling and soft. Emily, softly, trembling. I saw her again, Daddy. She told me to tell you that she's waiting. My heart sank. I knew who she meant. It was Sarah Whitfield. She had come for Emily. For us. She was calling us back to the house, to the truth. To the memory that was buried there, in the walls, in the rooms. And now, I couldn't escape it. None of us could. Sound, low wind hums, the faint sound of creaking floorboards growing louder. I should have known. When you try to ignore something this powerful, it doesn't just fade away. It grows. It gets stronger. The footsteps upstairs became louder. The whispering turned into full conversations, like someone was trying to speak to us through the walls. Sound, soft whispering, barely audible at first, then growing louder, Sarah. Sarah. It was like the house itself was trying to tell us something. Something important. The cold was unbearable, no matter how many blankets we piled on. And the lights, they flickered every night now, staying off longer than they stayed on. It wasn't just the electricity, it wasn't just the wind. Something was feeding off our fear. Sound, a loud bang, followed by the sound of glass breaking. One night, while we were sitting in the living room, a glass shattered on the floor. I jumped up, and Sarah screamed. And that's when I saw a figure, standing in the doorway of the kitchen. A shadow, dark against the dim light from the hallway. But this time, it wasn't just a flash. The figure was solid, clear. It was Sarah Whitfield. Her face was more defined now, her eyes dark and hollow, her mouth twisted in sorrow and rage. Sound, faint echo of a child's laughter, distant yet close. Her presence filled the room. I could feel it in my chest, this pressure, like I couldn't breathe. Emily screamed, clutching Sarah's arm, her eyes wide, her small hands shaking. I couldn't let this continue. I had to face it. But facing it meant confronting the truth. The truth about the house, and about Sarah. Sound, the hum of the wind outside, the distant rustle of leaves. I couldn't ignore it anymore. We couldn't keep pretending. Sarah and I decided to confront the ghost. To talk to her. To finally understand why she was still here, why she was tormenting us. I stood in the living room, where she had appeared, and spoke out loud. Sarah Whitfield, I said. We know about you. We know what happened. We're not leaving until you tell us why you're here. Sound, a cold breeze, faint footsteps from above. And then, there she was. Right in front of me. But this time, she wasn't just a shadow. She was a woman, a ghost, but a woman nonetheless. Her features were clearer, but her expression was one of deep, unyielding sorrow. Her mouth didn't move, but I could hear her. Her voice echoed in my head, like a whisper from deep within the house. Sound, faint, soft whisper, help me. She spoke to me in a way that shook me to my core. I never wanted to hurt you, she said, her voice strained, as if it were breaking. I was trapped here. I couldn't leave. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. She was stuck. The house was her prison, and she couldn't escape. Not until she was at peace. Sound, slow, mournful music, almost like a funeral dirge. And then, she showed me. She showed me what had happened all those years ago. Sarah Whitfield had died on Christmas Eve, not by accident, but by murder. Her husband had killed her in a fit of rage, consumed by jealousy. The house had been her prison, her tomb, and she had never found peace because her story had never been told. No one knew what happened to her. The house had kept her. Sound, a soft, sad melody, wind gently rustling outside. I couldn't leave her like this. I couldn't let her remain trapped. And I knew that in order to help her, I had to make sure the truth came out. The truth about her death, the truth about what had happened in this house. I promised her that we would tell the world. That we would make sure she was remembered. Sound, the soft sound of paper rustling, like an old document being opened. I contacted the local authorities, and after some digging, we uncovered the truth. The old records, the forgotten documents, the court case that had never been fully investigated. The house was finally recognized as a place of tragedy, not just a home. And with that recognition, Sarah Whitfield was no longer a prisoner. She was free. Sound, a gentle, peaceful sigh, followed by a soft breeze. That night, after we had done all we could to set her spirit free, something changed. The house, it felt different. The air was lighter. The cold, that unnatural chill, was gone. And the next morning, the sunlight poured in through the windows like it hadn't in years. The house no longer felt like a place of torment. It felt like home again. Sound, soft birds chirping, a gentle breeze through the trees. We stayed in that house for a little while longer. The peace we had longed for had returned. The strange occurrences stopped. The house was no longer filled with the weight of the past. But we knew we couldn't stay forever. The memories of that Christmas Eve, the ghost, Sarah Whitfield's tragic end, they would stay with us. We left the house, but we didn't leave her behind. We made sure her story was told. We made sure she was remembered. Sound, faint sounds of a car starting, the sound of a door closing softly. We moved on with our lives. And every Christmas after that, we would remember. Not just the joy and the warmth, but the woman who had been trapped for so long. The woman who had died because she was never seen. But now, her story was known. And she was at peace. Sound, gentle, fading music, as if the story is coming to a close. The house still stands, somewhere in that quiet town, waiting. But it no longer holds the same secrets. It no longer holds Sarah Whitfield. The truth has set her free. And for us, that Christmas was the last one we ever spent in fear. It was the beginning of something new. A new chapter in our lives. A chapter with no more shadows. Sound, soft fading wind, calming and peaceful. And so, our story comes to an end. But the world is full of places, full of houses, full of memories, where spirits linger, waiting for someone to remember. If you ever find yourself in a house that feels too quiet, too still, remember. Not all stories are meant to be forgotten. Some are meant to be remembered. Sound, a soft, final note of music, fading into silence. We moved on. We left the house, left behind the haunting that had gripped our lives. But some things don't stay buried. The memories linger in the corners, like shadows, always watching. Always waiting. Sound, a soft, unsettling thud, like a door gently closing, followed by eerie silence. The house still stands. The town still remembers the story, though it has faded over time. The whispers of Sarah Whitfield's tragic death, the haunting of that old house, have become part of the town's forgotten history, buried under layers of time. But there are nights, when the wind howls through the trees, that I wonder. I wonder if it's really over. Sound, faint, eerie hum, like whispers just beyond hearing. Every now and then, I catch myself looking back, listening for that sound. A whisper. A creak. A voice in the wind. It's always just out of reach, like a half-remembered dream. But I know it's there. I know she's there. And the house, it's not empty. Not completely. I told you her story. I told you how she was trapped in that house, how her spirit couldn't rest. But what I didn't tell you, what I'm not sure I'll ever understand, is this: is Sarah Whitfield still in that house? Or did she leave once her story was told? Or is she still watching, waiting for someone else to remember, someone else to feel what we felt? Sound, the wind picks up, a faint knock at the door, almost imperceptible. There are nights, when I lie awake, that I hear it. A soft knock at the door. Or the faintest whisper in the wind, calling my name. And I know, deep down, that Sarah Whitfield's story may have been told, but the house? The house still remembers. Sound, the whispering grows louder, just out of reach, as if the wind carries it from the walls. So, if you ever find yourself in a quiet house, on a dark, stormy night, and the wind is howling through the trees, remember, not all stories are finished. Not all spirits are at peace. Some linger, in the silence, in the shadows, waiting. Sound, the whispering fades out, replaced by the eerie stillness of night. I don't know if the house still stands the way it did when we left. I don't know if Sarah's spirit still lingers, or if she's found the peace she so desperately sought. But I do know this, when you step into a place filled with memories, filled with secrets, sometimes, those secrets don't stay buried. They live on in the walls. In the rooms. In the very air you breathe. Sound, a long, drawn-out sigh, like the wind itself is breathing. And as for me? Well, I'll always remember. Always feel the weight of what happened. Because some stories are never truly finished. Sound, the last note of music fades, leaving only the silence, heavy and lingering.